Welcome to the deep dive. We pull the threads from leading research to give you, well, the strategic knowledge you really need, but without you having to spend hours reading it all.
Mhm.
Today, we are digging into something fundamental. It's the currency that, arguably, determines your success more than anything else.
Mm,
Time.
absolutely. It's more valuable than gold, right?
Yes,
Definitely
sir.
more finite than oil.
Exactly. And yet, most of us, well, we tend to treat it like it's almost infinite.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? And if you've ever looked around maybe at your workplace and wondered, why some people, CEOs, sure, but also just really effective team leaders, why they seem to get these huge, sustained results.
Without working crazy 80-hour weeks all the time.
Precisely. While others are just constantly busy, feel like they're drowning, but kind of stuck in place, the answer, well, it isn't really luck or genes or even just raw talent.
Okay, so what is it then?
It really comes down to their time allocation strategy, how they choose to spend those hours.
Okay, let's unpack that right away because that idea, I think it hits right where most people live. We're always being told, manage your time better, get this app, try that
Okay,
system.
the latest productivity hack.
Yeah. But the source material we're looking at today, and it's anchored in some pretty serious research from Harvard Business School, it basically says that whole approach, it's fundamentally flawed.
That's the absolute critical distinction here. You shouldn't be managing time, not in that reactive sense. You should be investing it.
Investing time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the central, really stunning finding that kind of sets the stage for this whole deep dive is this. People who treat their time as strategic capital.
Strategic capital.
Yeah.
Like money you invest.
Exactly like that. So they systematically put their time into activities designed for compound long-term returns. Those people, they achieve a phenomenal, get this, 340% better business results.
Wait, say that again? 340%.
340% compared to people who just manage their time with, the usual tools, the to-do list.
Wow. Okay, that's not just a little bit better.
Yeah.
That's an exponential difference. That's a huge gap.
It really is. It
Yeah.
separates average from high performance completely.
So our mission today then is to really explore this framework they call the time investment portfolio. It sounds like a systematic way to force yourself, really, to look at every hour, maybe every minute,
Hmm.
as a kind of formal business investment decision. Are we optimizing for those compound returns you mentioned, not just, checking off tasks and feeling busy?
That's exactly it. And this whole strategic investment mindset, it's the direct opposite of the trap most professionals fall into. We call it the reactive time trap.
The reactive time trap. Yeah.
Okay, when you're stuck in that trap, you're basically optimizing for being busy. It feels productive, but it's not the same as optimizing for being effective. There's a huge difference.
Okay, and we have a case study to make this really concrete, right?
Yeah.
Someone named Alex.
Yes, Alex. He's a perfect illustration. He's a 30-year-old project manager, works at a fast-growing tech firm, smart guy, really highly regarded by his bosses, tons of potential.
Sounds good so far.
Right. But he was, well, frankly, he was drowning, routinely working 55, maybe more, hours a week, answering emails late into the evening, like 9 p.m.
Oh, wow. Sacrificing his personal life, I bet.
Totally. And the kicker was all that exhaustion. It never really translated into significant forward momentum, no big promotions, just exhaustion.
So he was busy, but not effective, stuck in that trap.
He was the textbook example of the reactive time mistake. He was basically letting the outside world dictate his priorities. His day was driven by whoever shouted loudest, right?
It's
The
like
latest emergency, the most urgent sounding email subject line.
That's so relatable, though. It feels like you have to respond to those things.
Of course. And he was confusing that feeling of being busy, which, psychologically feels like you're important, like you're needed, with actual meaningful high-value work.
Ouch. That distinction is painful because being busy feels so responsible. It feels like you're doing your job.
Yeah.
If you're constantly answering emails, you feel helpful. If you're rushing between meetings, you feel engaged, involved.
Right. But the sources argue if you're only ever responding to external things, these stimuli coming at you, you're basically just functioning as a tactical resource. You're putting out fires.
Not investing.
Exactly. You're not acting like a strategic capital investor, making deliberate choices about where your most valuable asset, your time, goes.
So the moment Alex let other people's urgency dictate his hours, he basically lost control of his own, let's call it, career capital.
That's a great way to put it. He stopped being the master of it. What he needed wasn't a better to-do list app. He needed a complete mindset shift, a rigorous, systematic approach, the kind that really successful executives use. viewing time purely through the lens of its expected investment return.
Okay, let's ground this in the data you mentioned,
Hmm.
because this isn't just some nice theory, right? It's built on actual research. You mentioned Harvard Professor Michael Porter.
Yes, exactly. Porter's work on executive effectiveness is key here. His team did this huge study. It lasted 5 years. They meticulously followed around 1,200 business leaders.
1,200 for 5 years. Wow.
Yeah, they logged and scrutinized exactly how these high-level folks spent every hour. It was incredibly detailed.
And what was the big takeaway? Because my assumption, and I think most people's, is that success means just grinding harder, working more hours.
Right, but that's not what they found. The key insight, and this should really challenge that assumption, was this. The highest performers, the ones getting the best results, they didn't work more hours. In fact, they achieved substantially better business results, like the metrics that actually mattered to the company, while working, on average, 20% fewer hours than their average performing peers.
20% fewer hours, but significantly better results. How?
That's the power of what the sources call the time investment effect. It's about leverage. When you identify activities that create returns that multiply over time.
Compound returns, like you said.
Exactly, like building a system that saves everyone time later or developing a strategy that guides the team for a whole year, those activities compound. Compare that to, say, routine admin tasks. They consume time, deliver value maybe once, and that value often diminishes quickly.
Okay, that makes sense. But here's what seems counterintuitive. You're saying the high performers weren't necessarily more disciplined in that traditional way, like always punctual, super organized desks.
Yeah, not necessarily. That can just be being really efficient at being busy, right? Polishing the brass on the Titanic.
Right, so what was different?
They were strategically discerning. Their focus wasn't just on efficiency, it was on identification. They were ruthless about identifying the high ROI activities, the high return on investment stuff.
And just as ruthless about getting rid of the rest.
Equally rigorous, maybe even more so. Systematically eliminating anything that did not contribute to those high-value returns. That strategic choice, that discernment, that's the real differentiator. It's repeatable.
Okay, so if we buy into this idea, time is capital, we need a way to manage this portfolio, right? A structure. How do we categorize our hours? You mentioned 2 axes.
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple. The framework uses 2 dimensions for every activity. Impact, that's the potential for value creation, and urgency, how immediately it needs attention.
Impact and urgency. Okay.
And based on those, the sources break down all our time into 4 clear investment categories. And right away, you need to get this. Pretty much all your long-term success comes from maximizing the first 2 categories.
All right, let's hear them. Category 1.
Category 1, strategic time. I love that name too because it frames the purpose perfectly. This is the absolute gold mine. It's high impact, but, and this is crucial, it's typically low urgency.
High impact, low urgency.
Okay.
So, important but not screaming for attention right now.
Exactly, which is why it's so easily sacrificed. This is the psychological trap because these things aren't on fire. They're the first to get pushed aside when that reactor trap grabs you.
So what kind of activities live here?
This is where you do your long-term planning, your deep strategic thinking, innovation. It's building systems or processes that save hundreds of hours down the line. It's dedicated skill development, serious learning. It's deliberately building relationships and networks that create future opportunities.
Ah, so it's the working on the business or on your career, not just in it, scrambling day to day.
That's a perfect way to put it. And remember, Alex, our project manager,
Yeah, the one drowning in work.
initially he was spending less than 8% of his time here, just 8%.
Wow. And what does the research say the target should be?
The research is clear. You need a massive commitment here. The target allocation is 25 to 30% of your total working time.
A quarter to nearly a third of your week, just on strategic stuff.
Yes, it has to be a non-negotiable anchor if you want real growth. It won't happen by accident.
Okay, category 1, strategic time, 25–30%. Got it. What's category 2?
Category 2 is production time. This is also high impact, but unlike strategic time, this one is high urgency.
High impact, high urgency. So important and needs doing now.
Right. This is your core value creation zone. It's delivering the immediate necessary results that, keep the lights on, meet the deadlines, satisfy the clients.
So what are examples here? Is this just doing your job?
It's the parts of your job that only you can really do effectively given your skills or position. So yes, core responsibilities, but also critical problem solving under pressure, closing those high value deals, delivering on important client work, any genuine revenue generating activities. It's the engine running at full tilt on the right things.
And the target allocation for this?
The target allocation for production time is 40 to 50%. It's the biggest chunk, which makes sense.
Okay, so if we add those up, strategic at 25–30%, production at 40–50%.
Hmm.
We're aiming for something like 65% to 80% of our entire week spent on high-impact activities, whether they're long-term or immediate.
Exactly, that's the goal. And notice, even in that ideal state, you still have significant time carved out specifically for that low-urgency, high-impact strategic investment. It's not an afterthought.
Right. Okay, so those are the two we want to maximize now,
Yeah.
the ones we need to tackle, the low-impact zones.
Yep, now we flip the script. We need to be ruthless about minimizing, even eliminating these. Starting with the necessary evil, perhaps. Category 3, maintenance time. This is low impact but high urgency.
Low-impact, high-urgency. So not really creating value, but feels like it needs doing right away.
Pretty much. These things are often necessary for just basic operations to continue. They don't really create systemic value or advance your main goals, but they feel urgent, often because they involve other people waiting or communication deadlines or just recurring bureaucratic hoops to jump through.
Give me some examples, because this sounds like where a lot of time might disappear.
Oh, it does. Think about routine admin tasks filing, basic data entry, expense reports, the huge time suck of just processing email, constantly checking notifications, routine reporting that maybe nobody even reads carefully.
Status meetings.
Uh-huh.
The ones where you just go around the room and nothing actually gets decided.
Exactly. Status meetings without real decision-making are classic maintenance time. Documentation just for the sake of having documentation. It all falls here.
So we can't eliminate this entirely, because some of it has to happen.
Right. The goal isn't total elimination. That's probably impossible. It's radical minimization, streamlining processes, automating where you can. The target allocation is 15 to 20%.
15 to 20%.
Okay.
That feels manageable. But you said Alex?
Alex, when he did his audit, this category was where he was spending a staggering 55% of his week.
55%
Yeah.
on low-impact stuff.
Yes. He was, in effect, acting like a very highly paid administrator. That's where all his time was going.
Wow. Okay. That leaves one category, the worst one.
The absolute worst. Category 4, time waste. This is the pits. Low impact and low urgency.
Low impact, low urgency. So
Yeah,
achieves nothing and isn't even pretending to be urgent.
precisely. The objective here is simple. Systemic elimination. Get this down to 0, or as close as humanly possible.
Examples. Well, maybe we don't want to admit to them.
Ha. Well, the common culprits are things like endless, mindless scrolling through social media during work hours, attending meetings just because you were invited or out of habit, even though you add no value and get no value.
Procrastination activities disguised as work, like tweaking a presentation slide for an hour when it's already fine.
Classic example. Or getting drawn into office gossip or drama that just wastes energy and time. It's pure consumption, no creation.
And the target here is 0.
Target allocation, 0 to 5%. A tiny bit might be unavoidable, maybe a quick mental break. But if you're hitting 10 or 15% here, you were just leaking valuable capital like a sieve.
Okay, let's bring it back to Alex, his initial audit. You said it was an inversion of this success model.
It was almost perfectly upside down. After those 2 painful weeks of tracking every 30-minute block,
What were his numbers again?
strategic time, just 8%. Production time, a mere 25%. Maintenance time, that massive 55%. And time waste, a chunky 12%.
Good grief. So he was spending almost 3 times what he should have been on maintenance and wasting more time than he was spending planning his future or doing strategic work.
Exactly. And that's why he was so busy, so exhausted, and felt like he was running in place. The data showed it plain as day. It wasn't his effort level, it was his allocation. That was the structural problem.
Okay, so the diagnosis is clear. How did he actually turn things around? Let's get into the transformation process.
Yeah.
The sources lay out a kind of step-by-step plan, right? 4 phases.
That's right, a 4-phase implementation. It starts, as it must, with the sometimes painful truth. Phase 1, time audit and analysis. This took him about 2 weeks, weeks 1 and 2.
And you said this is non-negotiable. You have to do this first.
Absolutely. You can't improve what you don't measure. He used those 30-minute blocks, logged everything, and honestly assigned each activity to one of the 4 categories. No cheating.
And the specific discoveries were pretty stark, I gather. Things that probably sound familiar to a lot of us.
Oh, definitely. He documented, actually counted 12 hours every single week spent in meetings where, honestly, his input wasn't needed. No decisions were being made that required him to be there.
12 hours. That's a day and a half of work time just gone
Yeah.
in meetings.
Gone. Just sitting there, maybe half listening. And the communication fragmentation was even worse in some ways. He found he was checking his email 47 times a day.
47 times.
Yeah. Often just for a quick glance, maybe 3 minutes average per check, but added up. That was 2.4 hours every day just context switching, reacting to his inbox. And that doesn't even count the recovery time.
Right. Research shows it takes ages to get back on track after an interruption.
Exactly. So the collateral damage from those 47 checks was probably massive.
What else did the audit uncover?
He found 6 hours a week spent on really mind-numbing admin tasks, stuff
Mhm.
that was repetitive, clearly automatable with a bit of effort.
And the strategic time.
The audit confirmed it. 0 hours. No time blocked for skill development. No time for thinking about process improvements. No career planning. Just reacting and maintaining.
Okay, so that data must have been a wake-up call. What was phase 2?
That hard data gave him the motivation for phase 2. Strategic elimination, which he focused on in weeks 3 and 4. And the key mindset shift here was crucial. We are not going to get more efficient at doing wasteful things. We are going to eliminate them.
Don't optimize waste, eliminate it. I like that. So where did he start cutting?
The biggest, easiest win was meeting optimization. Remember those 12 hours? This required him learning to say that difficult word, no. He started politely but firmly declining invitations to meetings that weren't essential for him. That immediately freed up 6 hours a week, right there.
Just like that. Wow. What about the meetings he did have to attend?
He started actively managing them, pushing to shorten standard 60-minute meetings to 45, insisting on clear agendas beforehand and defined, measurable outcomes for any meeting he was running. No agenda, no attenda became a sort of mantra.
Okay, meetings tackled. What about the email monster, the 47 checks a day?
That was next. Strategic elimination, targeted communication. Instead of that constant reactive checking, he moved to batching.
Batching, meaning...
Checking email only 3 times per day. Like maybe 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m. That's it.
But what about people expecting instant replies?
He managed expectations. He set up an autoresponder message explaining he checks email at specific times and will respond accordingly. It shifts the perceived burden of urgency off his shoulders and back onto the sender, to some extent. It trains people.
Okay. And the admin tasks, the 6 hours.
That was solved with leverage, automation, and delegation. He found ways to automate some routine reporting using software the company already had, but he hadn't bothered to learn properly.
And delegation.
Critically, yes. He identified tasks that junior team members could handle, and he didn't just dump it on them. He framed it as development opportunities, which they appreciated. It built goodwill and freed up his time for higher value work.
So just by eliminating cutting meetings, batching email, automating, delegating, how much time did he actually reclaim?
It was substantial, over 15 hours of his work week.
15 hours? That's like getting 2 full workdays back.
Exactly. He created this significant resource surplus, and that capacity wasn't just left idle. It was immediately reinvested in phase 3, strategic time investment. This happened over weeks 5 through 8.
Okay, so this is where the real shift happens. He's not just saving time. He's putting it to work for those compound returns. How?
He started by protecting time and earmarking it specifically for growth. He established a dedicated strategic planning block, non-negotiable time.
What did that look like practically?
For him, it meant blocking out 2 solid hours every single Friday afternoon. He used it for weekly review, what went well, what didn't, and to plan the next week with strategic focus.
So you'd start Monday morning already knowing his priorities, not just reacting to whatever landed overnight.
Precisely. It stopped the Monday morning scramble. He also set up a mandatory half-day session once a month just for deeper strategic thinking, looking at market trends, refining his team's processes, thinking bigger picture.
And what about skills? He had 0 hours there before.
He immediately allocated 5 hours per week specifically to skill development. And this wasn't just casual online reading, it was targeted. He took courses on advanced project management techniques, things that directly related to the senior role he wanted. He attended an industry conference. He invested in leadership training.
So he was actively building the skills for the next job, not just the current one.
Exactly, investing in his future value.
Smart.
Yeah.
Did he do anything about relationships? You mentioned that was strategic too.
He didn't forget relationship capital. That's a key strategic asset. He started intentionally scheduling short coffee meetings with key people internally, executives in other departments, just to understand their priorities, build bridges.
And the junior team members he delegated to.
He started formally mentoring them, investing time in their growth, which not only helped them, but strengthened his own leadership position and influence network. It created loyalty.
Okay, this is sounding like a real turnaround. What's the final phase? Phase 4.
Phase 4 is system optimization and results. This is all about making the new allocations stick. building the habits, refining the system so it becomes second nature.
Because it's easy to slip back into old habits, right?
Very easy. So this phase involved integrating energy management, which we should definitely talk more about, and establishing really tight, non-negotiable daily routines.
Like what?
He implemented a 10-minute planning session every single morning, before checking email, before anything else, just confirming the day's high ROI targets from his strategic plan. And then a quick 5-minute review and prep session in the evening. Clear his head, capture any follow-ups, plan the next day's launch sequence. It prevented that late-night email checking from creeping back in.
So the big question, did it work? What were the results after, say, 6 months of this?
The results were honestly undeniable. First off, his working hours dropped significantly, from that unsustainable 55 plus down to a much more manageable 45 per week.
Working 10 fewer hours. But was he getting less done?
Quite the opposite. His meaningful output, the stuff tied to strategic team goals, the things that actually moved the needle, that increased by 60%.
Wow. Less time, 60% more valuable output. That's huge leverage.
It really is. And the career impact. Swift and direct, he got the promotion. Senior project manager.
Ah, so the investment paid off, literally.
Absolutely. The key insight wasn't just that he became more efficient, it's that he deliberately invested his hours into the activities his organization valued most. He aligned his time capital with their strategic priorities, maximizing his personal return on that invested time.
That's a powerful story. Okay, so Alex got the basics down. But for people who maybe are already doing some of this, what are the more advanced strategies? How do the real high performers optimize even further? It's not just what you do, right?
Exactly. It's also when you do it, and critically, what you consciously choose not to do. The first big advanced strategy is energy management integration.
Energy management. So matching tasks to your personal energy levels throughout the day.
Precisely. It answers the critical question of when specific types of work should ideally happen. Think about it. Trying to do really complex strategic thinking or tackle a difficult production task when your brain feels like mush.
Yeah, that's just frustrating. You make mistakes, it takes twice as long.
Right. You basically push that high-value task down into the maintenance or even waste category because the quality suffers or you have to redo it later. It's incredibly inefficient.
So the sources say you need to figure out your own energy patterns, like when are you sharpest?
Yes, you need to perform a sort of personal energy time matrix analysis. Alex did this. He learned, for example, his peak cognitive windows were roughly 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and then again maybe 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. But his best creative thinking happened a bit differently, maybe 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Everyone's different, I suppose.
Absolutely. But once you know your patterns, you can create strict strategic allocation rules, meaning his high energy time became sacred ground. It was exclusively dedicated to the toughest stuff, strategic work and the most complex production activities, complex analysis, high-stakes decisions, deep creative work, difficult conversations. He protected those hours fiercely.
Like nuclear launch codes you said earlier.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And conversely, his low energy time, that classic post-lunch slump or maybe the last hour of the day when focus wanes, that time was reserved only for necessary maintenance stuff.
Like what? Filing emails, simple documentation.
Exactly. Routine admin, checking in quickly on delegated tasks, maybe some light planning for the next day, things that don't require peak brain power.
And just aligning tasks with energy like that, did it make a big difference?
The sources suggest the compound effect is huge. For Alex, just by aligning task difficulty with his natural energy rhythms, his effective productivity jumped another 40%.
40%, on top of the previous gains, without adding any more hours.
Without adding a single hour. Just by working smarter, in sync with his own biology, it's leveraging your internal resources.
Okay, energy management is powerful. What's the second big advanced strategy?
The opportunity cost framework. This is a mental filter, a really powerful one, that forces you to constantly acknowledge the trade-offs. Every time you say yes to one thing, you are implicitly saying no to something else.
Because time is finite. You can't do everything.
Exactly. It's easy to agree to sit in on another meeting or spend an extra hour polishing a report, but using this framework forces you to ask, what high-value activity am I giving up by doing this instead?
So the core question is always, what am I not doing by choosing to do this?
That's the absolute core question. If you spend an hour diving down a research rabbit hole for a decision that's actually pretty low stakes, that hour is gone forever. It can't be spent on strategic planning or building that key relationship or learning that new skill.
That's a sobering thought. How do you make that practical, though? It feels a bit abstract.
The sources give a really practical tool, the $100 hour test.
Hmm.
Or pick any number that feels significant to you, maybe $200 an hour, maybe more, depending on your role.
Calculate your effective hourly rate, roughly.
Yeah, or just use a high benchmark number.
Hmm.
Then, before you commit time to a task, especially a non-urgent one, ask yourself, if I had to pay someone $100 an hour out of my own pocket to do this task, would it be worth the money?
Oh, interesting. So it forces you to value your own time
Yeah.
explicitly.
Exactly. For Alex, things that clearly passed the test tasks worth his $100 plus hour time were things only he could do that had high impact or compound returns. Strategic planning, key client negotiations, skill development that led to advancement,
And things that failed the test.
routine data entry he could delegate, formatting presentation slides, spending an hour trying to set up a complex meeting invite when an assistant could do it in 10 minutes, over-researching a decision where his gut instinct was probably good enough, those failed the test.
And if it fails the test,
It gets flagged instantly. So eliminate this, automate this, or delegate this. Get it off your plate.
which leads naturally into delegation, I guess.
Yeah.
You mentioned a matrix for that.
Yes, the delegation decision matrix. It's a systematic way to decide who should do what, moving beyond just gut feel. It uses two axes again: skill required for the task and the business impact of the task if done well or poorly.
Skill required and business impact.
Okay, so high skill plus high impact tasks.
Yeah.
Those stay with the executive, with Alex, period. That's where his unique value lies.
Makes sense. What about low skill plus low impact?
Eliminate or automate immediately. That's the low-hanging fruit. Don't even delegate it if you can just get rid of it.
Okay, the interesting ones are the other two boxes.
Exactly. Let's take low skill plus high impact. These are tasks that must be done well because the impact on the business is significant, but they don't necessarily require the executive's unique high-level skills.
So important, but someone else could do it if trained.
Precisely. And this is where most managers fail to leverage properly. This is where Alex started investing his time in training others, creating standard operating procedures, maybe recording a quick video tutorial, writing a clear checklist for a junior team member to handle, say, critical weekly reporting.
Ah, so the investment is the training time.
Yes. The upfront cost is training that person, which takes time. But the return, it's potentially infinite because that task is now permanently off Alex's plate and becomes production time for someone else who is capable.
The hurdle there is psychological, isn't it? Trusting someone else with something high impact.
Huge psychological hurdle, letting go. But the long-term capital gain in freed up executive time is immense. It's the highest form of leverage.
Okay, that matrix makes a lot of sense. So even with this framework, energy management, opportunity cost, things can still slip through the cracks. Time leaks.
Oh, absolutely. Time leaks are insidious. They're often small things that add up. High performers have to stay vigilant, develop a laser focus on systematic time waste elimination just to maintain that crucial 25–30% strategic allocation.
Where did Alex find his biggest leaks, even after the initial cleanup?
The audit continuation revealed a few key categories. First, digital time leaks. Even after batching email, he found he was still losing time elsewhere online. Like over 5 hours a week, just quick checking news sites or scrolling social media feeds during what he thought were short breaks. 5 hours. That's significant strategic planning time, or just plain rest time. Gone.
Ouch. What was the elimination strategy there? Stricter rules?
Even stricter. Phone physically put on airplane mode and out of sight during his protected deep work blocks? No exceptions. Dedicated email batching, yes, but also aggressively unsubscribing from every newsletter or notification email that didn't directly serve a high-impact goal, treating his attention span like Fort Knox.
Okay, digital leaks plugged. What else?
Workflow time leaks. These are leaks caused by inefficient processes or systems. Alex discovered he was losing, on average, 30 minutes every day just searching for files or information he needed because his digital filing was a mess.
Half an hour a day looking for stuff? That's 2.5 hours a week.
Yep. And even worse, he calculated about 3 hours per week were spent redoing work or fixing mistakes that stemmed from unclear project requirements up front, just because the initial brief wasn't nailed down properly.
So process failures leading to wasted time. How did he fix those?
System creation. He finally implemented a standardized digital file organization structure for himself and his team. He forced himself to invest 30 minutes in detailed upfront planning and requirements gathering for every major project to prevent that costly rework loop. He created templates for recurring emails, reports, project plans, Eliminate the friction, eliminate the waste.
It sounds like setting up systems takes time initially, but pays back massively.
Huge payback. It also reduces context switching, which is maybe the most invisible but damaging time killer of all.
Join us next time for the deep dive into risk assessment. Until then, treat your time like the valuable investment portfolio it is.